the religion which is based on God or the theory of creator is more effective. Because there is creator, there is God Almighty. It's everything depends on it. So therefore, if you follow according to God's wish, you will get benefit. So then, what is the God's wish? Be a warm-hearted person, good person. Love to God, love to fellow human being. These two things. To me, I think God's real message or religious, I think those traditions, main message is love to fellow human being. That's, I think, main message. In order to do that, this is love to God. So now, whether this is someone, I mean the Christian people, one Christian individual, whether that person really loving God or not, you see, the experiment is whether that person truly showing love towards fellow human being or not. If that person truly is showing love towards fellow human being, then that person really loves God. If the person, this is showing some more hatred rather than love towards a fellow human being, then his, you see, the word, you see, love to God is just a lip service way. Lip service. So that is clear. So you see, the goal is same. Then Buddhist and also Jainism and Buddhism and some part of the ancient Hindu, the Sangha philosophy, which do not accept creator. Then you see, according to these religion, you see, there is no creator. Ultimately, ourselves as a creator. So the main responsibility remain on our own shoulder. Be careful. You see, your own future depends on your behavior. You cannot blame on anyone else but yourself. So that way of persuasion, that way of approach is, to some people, that's more effective. So the Buddhist way, to some people, Jainism or Buddhism, this way is more effective. So therefore, you see, each religion have, you see, the special sort of, you see, the technique. Accordingly, it's a different mental disposition. So therefore, you see, once we realize, once we think this line, then automatically we develop respect, or so you see, mutual respect, mutual sort of understanding, and then not only you see, then you see that through that we even you see get some benefit for enriching survey. Enriching. Now, for example, this is my own case. I learned many good things from Christian practitioners, Christian tradition. Similarly, some Christian brothers and sisters, they learned some Buddhist technique. Even they adopt according to their own religion, religious practice. So therefore, you see, they live together harmoniously and exchange with different experiences. So it enriched both system or both, you see, the tradition. So the recent years now, I think generally among the religious tradition, there are some sense of pluralism is growing. That's, I think, a very positive sign. And as a religious person, I think we also have the responsibility to increase that kind of broad-minded concept. That's very, very essential. Among humanity, I think we have enough, the reasons to fight one another. And then on top of that, even religion also add on it, I think very bad, I think very sad, very, very unfortunate. supposed religion is the making harmony between people. But then you see that very instrument or very factor become, you see, another factor for more division among humanity is, I think, very sad. So therefore, this is another level. You see, the unity, harmony between different religions is one of our responsibility, common responsibility. I always try to make a contribution. Sometimes I feel, in this respect, I think I made some contribution, some little contribution. As far as Tibetan Buddhist is concerned, our relation with Christian brothers and sisters is quite, I think, much progress is take place, especially through exchange program. Tibetan Buddhist monks, nuns visited some Christian monasteries or Christian community and spent, in some cases, few weeks. And not only is it the intellectual discussion, but actually participated in their 24 hours, spiritual life. So that tremendous benefit. It's very, very beneficial to develop deep understanding. So I often feel the closer relation between different religious heads is very essential. Now, for example, say in India, through centuries, the spirit of harmony on the basis of ahimsa or tolerance is through centuries. India has such a wonderful tradition there. Then in recent years, some unfortunate things happen. When such things happen, and then some individual people manipulate this situation, and then religious head, due to lack of personal contact, and usually, in normally, the lack of personal contact, so there's such critical things happen. Then they cannot come forward. A little bit of hesitation. If normally some closer relations there, then such things happen. Then they can speak out. It's common language or common word. It will definitely influence. Each religious leader sit on a throne and let's speak. that sometimes creates a lot of problem. So I think too much formality. I see some additional obstacle, not good. I think this is just an example. So there are various, I think, the part of the world, the religious leader, I think they're often meeting. Actually, this morning is my meeting with the Archbishop Canterbury. He mentioned recent time he had some
interfaith dialogue.
Interfaith dialogue. He mentioned this. Such things are wonderful. So that's, I think, very, very important one. This is one thing. Then thirdly, as a Tibetan, particularly as a Dalai Lama, you see, I have some responsibility about the Tibetan nation and its unique culture. Now, at the moment, you see, because of large number of Chinese population transfer or population influx, now there is real danger. The Tibetan nation with unique culture may disappear from this map, from this world. Already the Chinese population is more than 7 million, whereas Tibetan population is around 6 million. So therefore, already the Tibetan in our own land become minority. So look, you see, Mongolia, Inner Mongolia, according to the latest information, The Mongolian population around 3 millions. The Chinese population more than 18 millions. So if the present situation remains like this, then very soon Tibet also become like this Inner Mongolia. So then such things happen, and that's everything. Then finished, no hope. So you see, Tibet, I feel, although you see I'm Tibetan, so some of my comment about Tibet may have some exaggeration, but whether there is exaggeration or not, you should judge carefully. Now, that I feel, firstly, you see, due to geographical situation, Tibet can be a very important role for peace on that continent. In the past, you see, Tibet actually acted as a buffer state between most two populated nations, China. Now today, more than 1.2 billion of human beings. India, almost I think they're 900 millions, isn't it? 900 millions. So you see, these two giants combined, they're almost as half of the world population. So very important. And meantime, the economic difficulties still is there. Of course, although it's China, you see, the recent years, the economic development is very rapidly progressing. It also, you see, unless it's a totalitarian system and the ideology, believing weapon, military force, you see, that concept, that ideology, unless you see the whole system and that kind of ideology change, I think the more economic development means more danger. The manpower is there, nuclear weapon is there, then the ideology, which, the Chairman Mao's famous quotation, power come from barrel of gun. So actually, you see, we ourselves, you see, experienced, you see, the rule of terror is there. So that is the system. And you see, many people complain like you see, the former Chile Pinochet or the president of Burmese dictators. Of course, very bad. But to me, you see, these mainly due to individual army generals. But the communist dictatorship is, you see, that system or dictatorship is actually institutionalized and also legalized. So there's more danger. So therefore, in any way, Tibet is one of my idea which I expressed in 87 in the public, the 5-point peace plan. In it, one point I mentioned Tibet, no matter what political status, should be demilitarized. So it's so that Tibet can be an important role in regarding peace on that region. And since the big populated area, so it can be definitely very important for, I think, great contribution for world peace. There's no doubt. This is one thing. Then the second thing, Tibetan spiritual. I think now many people, I think they now, they recognize or knows it's a Tibetan spiritual, a Tibetan culture, I think rather, we may say, I think, Buddhist culture. Then the individual, not necessarily be a Buddhist, but at the same time, Buddhist culture can be maintained. One example is some Muslim of Tibet, Tibetan Muslim. They are individual religion Muslim, not Buddhist. But they maintain, they keep very alive about Buddhist culture. So therefore, you see, irrespective of what the individual faith, but as a whole community, that you see, peaceful nature of culture can be preserved or can practice. So, you see, that culture, look from northern side, beyond Tibet, Inner Mongolia, and then Outer Mongolia, and also the Buryat and Tuva, and in a little bit west, there's some portion in Xinjiang. Also, there are some Buddhist community, and then the Kalmyk Republic. Whole this area is the same Buddhist culture. South, the whole Himalayan region, the Buddhist culture, same Buddhist culture. All these surrounding the area, the Buddhist culture, come from Tibet. Originally, all this come from Tibet. So, something like the raw material of Buddhist culture with Tibetan brought from India to Tibet. Then we made a little bit modification. Then you see with that is a good material, raw material, a little bit, I think, more new shape. And you see the export of this area. So it seems like that. So in any way, no harm. So all right, isn't it? That export is no harmful, right? No negative things. So therefore, you see the Tibetan culture, Buddhist culture, so that quite a big area in Central Asia. It's a quite large area. And then, most important, to India, Buddhism is one of their own religion. Now, recent time, now they eventually some revival of Buddhist doctrine, Buddha Dharma in India. And in China. After all, in Chinese mind, Buddhism is not alien religion. Buddhism is through centuries, even before Buddhism flourished in Tibet, the China already is Buddhism flourished. So therefore, the Buddhism once in China is flourished, I think, very extensively. So therefore, and then the last few decades in China, the old religion and all other ideology, they suppress, not only suppress, people cannot learn or cannot practice or cannot learn some kind of prohibition. Then they are compelled to believe Marxism. That failed. So nothing left there. So as a result, millions of young Chinese, due to lack of spiritual or lack of moral principle, so they utilize all sorts of methods in order to gain more money. So there are a lot of corruptions, a lot of scandals, corruptions there. So many young Chinese, they express they are really something lacking. So in that respect, I think I'm quite sure. Sometimes I feel quite certain that we Tibetan, if our spiritual value survive, when freedom, liberty happen, then I think we can make greater contribution for millions of young Chinese mind. This I feel. Already, there is some Tibetan who reside in Peking and some other places. Sometimes some intellectuals, even some young professors of university, quietly approach these people and ask some explanation about Buddha Dharma according to Tibetan tradition. So once the freedom prevailed, freedom of thought, the freedom of speech is once happen, I think the many Chinese will get some benefit. So therefore, the preservation of Tibetan culture, Tibetan nation, is not just the interest of 6 million people, but I think for long run, there are some larger sort of benefit on that region or that world, that part of the world. Then secondly, China, our national struggle. is also, you see, the struggle for democracy and freedom. Alongside with millions of young Chinese who now is around 85, 86, 87, 88, finally 89, the Tiananmen massacre happened. So this shows how much, how strong among the Chinese, particularly among the intellectuals and the students, the desire of democracy and freedom. So therefore, the China, most populated nation now, there is no point in China isolate. It is our interest, or it is world interest, that China must bring into the mainstream of world community. Now here, not only in the economy field, but in democracy. Democracy is most important. So therefore, world community have moral responsibility, and also it is our own interest, it is world interest, that China must bring into the mainstream of democracy of the world community. Now this is very essential. So about that is my talk. So all this is my action. Actually, the power of compassion. Isn't it? So thank you very much. Now just a few questions. I would like to explain.
What would Your Holiness like the members of the audience to do to help the Tibetan cause?
As I explained, so whatever way, although I very, very encouraged to receive, I think, the great support from many different places, like United States and here in Britain, I received, I think, the really encouraging sort of the inspiration. So still, we need more active support. It's a Tibetan issue, not only a human rights issue, but also involved the environment problem and also the decolonization. That also is related. And then the most important, as I mentioned earlier, the population transfer. Now, this is very critical. So at this moment, we need more support to stop this population transfer. This is very, very crucial. So whatever way you can support, we very much appreciate.
Your Holiness, in trying to be a compassionate human being, how responsible should we feel? What should you do if you find someone emotionally dependent on your compassion? Is it compassionate to hurt someone if you think it is the best in the long run?
I think, as I mentioned earlier, compassion with wisdom, you should keep in your mind. That's important. Sometimes, wisdom for long-term, short-term interest.
It is very important to utilize one's faculty of intelligence to judge the long-term and short-term consequences of one's action. I can understand how my own mind and actions can affect my own causes and conditions. Can it also affect world conditions like hunger, poverty, and the other great sufferings of beings everywhere? How?
I think it is important. Sometimes we really feel one individual's action is insignificant. then think, of course the effect should come from channelized, right? Channeling or unified, you say, the movement. But then the movement of the society or community or group of people means joining individual. So society means the composition, right? A collection of individual. So initiative must come from individual. And also, unless each individual develops sense of responsibility, then whole community cannot move. So therefore, it is very